All right.
All right.
Well, welcome to the third episode of UBI with Lai and Manny. We are going to discuss a lot of stuff this time around because a lot of stuff has been going down this week. We've got
That's
people
an
endorse.
understatement.
Yeah, we've got people endorsing Trump who have no business endorsing Trump. We've got a lot of things happening in Nigeria with SARS. We've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. A lot to talk about. So I don't know where you want to start, but I mean, I
Yeah.
guess we can start off with SARS.
SARS. I mean, what an unfortunate name as well, anyway, given, what we have going on with COVID and all of that. The actual name of uh, this particular coronavirus has been causing us is SARS COVID-19 or something like that.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, SARS. Special Anti-Robbery Squad. So that's what it stands for. So this is basically a faction of. It's kind of like difficult to explain, right? Because the Nigerian police force, um, is basically a federal organization, right? Like states, the way you have it in the U.S., where states generally maintain their police forces, and even you have counties or cities, like you can have municipalities that have police forces and whatnot. In Nigeria, it's quite different. It is um it is mostly ran and organized by the federal government. Now within that, you would have different kind of like um specialist forces that focus on certain things. So I remember when I was growing up in Nigeria, there was this particular faction of the police called, we call them mobile police. Like, quite frankly, I never knew exactly what on earth they did. I just knew that
Mhm.
they were supposed to be more brutal than the regular police. So they are a shade below the soldiers, but
Okay.
they are um they are more, they are tougher. I don't know if that's the word I can use. They are more tougher than the regular police. Now, in the 90s, there were a ton of robberies, and I mean, you have to remember, this is the military regime. So I lived under the military regime in the 90s, and there was abject poverty and despair and all of that stuff, and there was just a ton of crime, like robbery. The robberies got so bad where sometimes you would have folks, like you would have folks call your house, like
Mhm.
armed robbers or whatnot. They will call your house and say, hey, on Thursday we're gonna be coming. Like, they will give you advance notice that
These
we're
are the
gonna be
most.
coming to your house.
These are
I mean,
polite robbers. Wow, they would
yeah.
tell you, "Hey, we're gonna be." Are they saying that because they're trying to warn you? Like they're trying to say, "Hey, if you have anything to hide, hide it," or they're just like, "Hey, make sure all the stuff's there."
Yeah, it's the latter. Make
Wow.
sure all the stuff is there, or else you're gonna get in trouble, because we don't
Ah,
want to come and don't find nothing. Like, so
damn.
that is basically the context. It's like, I mean, I'm just conveying to you how brazen things were. When
Jeez,
people talk about lawlessness in the UN, I'm like, this is nothing.
this is not lawlessness.
This
That is. Did that ever happen to your family though? Like, did they ever
Yes,
rob
that
you guys?
happened at least 3 times.
Oh
We
my god.
we actually had armed robbers come to our house, and by the third time, it was brutal, to the point where my dad was in the hospital for for a long time. Like, it was brutal. If you were to see my dad today, he actually has a mark on his head with machete cuts on his
Oh
head.
jeez.
It was brutal. Now, so that kind of like sets out the context to which the SARS Special Anti-Robbery Squad was formed. So in fact, we had armed robbers that were basically, I don't want to call them celebrities, but they were popular. Like there was this particular guy, his name was Shino Rambo. That was his nickname. It was like this
Shino Rambo.
Shino Rambo. So he was this notorious armed robber that everyone knew. That it's kind of like you will hear that, oh, Shino Rambo has struck again in this neighborhood, or Shino Rambo has struck again in Lagos, or Shino Rambo has struck again in Abeokuta. Like, so
And this guy he was part of SARS?
no. He was, so
this was just a okay.
This was a armed robber. Now,
okay. I got you.
SARS was formed to combat armed robbery. Now,
gotcha.
Supposedly, but they have now become the problem, and I actually don't think that it's hard to say, because a lot of Nigerians believe, it's not even just believe, like a lot of Nigerians believe that, I actually know this for a fact as well, that there were a ton of robberies that were also committed by the police officers, right? Like they will come to your house, or they will basically they were basically in cahoots with these robbers and whatnot, and they will carry out this crime. So where even though SARS was formed to combat these crimes, a lot of times they were a big part of the problem, just in terms of the actual crimes that they're supposed to be combating, not to even talk about the rest of the stuff that the protesters are protesting. Over the years, they've now gotten worse. So, I mean, over time, the robberies that they were supposed to be combating, I guess it got less deadly, or I mean, I don't want to say it got better, because it depends on your perspective, right? But at least from the perception of folks in general, maybe because the economic conditions of the country got better, those kinds of Shino Rambo type criminals reduced. Like, that wasn't a thing for a long time, where you had celebrity armed robbers. Kind of like comic book to think about now.
I mean, people like people who do dangerous things, like Pablo Escobar, Narcos. You think of shows like that, like people are obsessed with people who are like criminal mastermind or masterminds. I don't know if mastermind might be, too much of a stretch to call him that, but
maybe mastermind is a good way to.
I mean, he figured out how to do that. For how long was he doing this? Shino Rambo.
Like I didn't even look this up. Like it felt like years to me, but and then at some point he got caught or whatnot. I mean,
right.
If you think about it, I find it difficult just knowing what Nigeria is today. I find it difficult that he was able to carry out those crimes without the support of the police. I don't think it would have been possible for him to have lasted that long,
right,
without the support of the police. Because, anyway.
Yeah, everyone knew who he was. Y'all knew who he was. The police, everyone knew who he was, so they knew who he was. They had to. You said people would say, "Oh, he's going to be in this town this day." They had to know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so as I said earlier, I'm setting that up to kind of like, to give a wider context as to why SARS was how SARS was born, right? How and why it became a thing. So it became a thing because people were concerned about this string of armed robberies and whatnot. Okay, fine. They came on. They have become so. I mean, they were so brutal. And when I say brutal, it got to the, like, you think about police brutality in the US, right? I mean, at least against Black people.
Right.
Here, it wasn't just brutality. It was corruption. Like, you couldn't do anything. They were just a pain in the ass to get any shit done. Like,
the police were.
Like, You couldn't go from point A to point B in peace. They're gonna stop you. Have all this check, these roadblocks, this whatever, and you could only pass if you give them money. Like I can't tell you how many times that you know we couldn't do anything. Like you could like I'm laughing
So
because it is
so if you're
ridiculous.
going to the store,
Go into the store. You could have stuff in your, it doesn't matter whether you were a kid, you were an adolescent, you whatever. They will stop you if they had something. If you had something they like, they will take it from you. It could be your cookie, it could be your lunch money, it could be whatever. Like these guys, they were absolutely ridiculous. So that was in the 90s. Fast forward to the 2000s, they now became this state entity that were just acting with impunity. Like they they were killing people for fun. Like young people, they would say, okay, this person is an area boy or that person is an area boy. What are area boys? Area boys are basically what you would call street thugs or whatnot. And they will say, oh, this person um is like what do you call them, like internet criminal. Have you gotten one of those Nigerian email things before where it will be like
oh,
this
like the
Nigerian prince?
Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
I think I got one from you once. I don't know. I was like, lie. I know this is you. I'm not giving you money.
They'll tell you to send money to this bank account or whatnot. So
I can't believe someone fell for those things, which is funny because they wouldn't keep doing them.
No, many people fell for it. Many people fell for it. So in the 2000s, a lot of the crime evolved from kind of like armed robbery, if you will, to things like cyber crime and internet crime and whatnot. And these guys now became this entity that if they will stop you and just ask you like, who owns this car, just to harass you, like, who owns this car that you're driving? Like, well, this is my dad's car, this is my car. But like, no, we don't believe you. You gotta give us money to let you go. And that, or they will find a phone on you and stop you. I mean, this has happened before where, a couple of years ago, went to Nigeria, they just stopped, collected. They were like, okay, who has this phone? Like, I'm like, this is my phone. We're gonna go through the phone. I mean, I went back and forth with them, and I guess maybe they figured out that this guy kind of sounds like he doesn't live here. They let us go, but so they just became that pain in the ass to Nigerians in general, and a bunch and most of the people that have been filling them are just young Nigerians. Now you have to understand the median age of the average Nigerian is probably, I mean, not the average, the median age of Nigerians is probably like 19 or 20. So you have a ton of young people in the country without that. This is a country that's highly educated. People that can read and can write, that are smart and whatnot, without any prospects. And you have these police folks just harassing them. So you have people that cannot eat, that are just trying to make ends meet, and they're just constantly being brutalized by the police. Now, of course, a couple of weeks ago, in fact, the protest started, I would say maybe last year or something, but it wasn't really in the streets. It was more like on Twitter, where people started kind of like having different hashtags or whatnot. But when it starts, it's kind of like, when it started at the time, it wasn't as publicized as this, but it was a thing on Twitter. Everybody knew who SARS was. Like, if you were to go on Twitter, you would see people have been complaining a ton about SARS for a long time. So a couple of weeks ago, it just became this thing where, and I think it's a combination of maybe COVID, where people are just hungry, there's nothing to do and whatnot. And the fact that these police officers are still there just harassing folks, so they started protesting. Last week was when, so initially the government came out and they had concessions with these guys. They were like, hey, we're gonna agree to some of your demands and whatnot. They said they disbanded SARS. Now remember, they supposedly disbanded SARS last year as well. Actually, that's the thing. They supposedly disbanded. So So this time around, they also, they came around and they said they disbanded SARS, and they're no longer part of the Nigerian police. People were like, nope, that we don't believe that. Like, you can't say we disbanded SARS and they're, you still have the same people in there. Like, the fact that you're not calling them SARS anymore.
You can't just call them like cars or something and be like, wait a minute. the careful armed robbery. Like, no, I think it's the same guy, just in a different uniform.
It's ridiculous. I mean, like, yeah, they think they think the folks are like idiots or whatnot. Like, they were like, yeah, we've disbanded SARS. And people are like, hell no. So there's a list of reforms that they're actually looking for. Like, and one of the reforms is actually that the police officers should be paid well, because it is obvious that these fools that are police are actually not qualified to be police. Oftentimes, they are mal-educated folks, like people without training, trigger-happy fools. I mean,
this sounds so familiar. Like... Yeah, does this sound familiar, guys?
This is not funny.
I know it's not funny. It's not.
It's not. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, as I was saying it now, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, like, does this sound like something you've heard before?
Oh my gosh, it's interesting. Yeah, no, it's the same thing over here. I mean, it's not the same. It's different because it's a different country, and I think the problems might be amplified over in Nigeria, but it's a similar issue, just because when you give people this type of power and they're not trained or not regulated, this happens. It's human nature. If anything, it just shows us how similar we all are.
Exactly. So that's really what it is when this is just unfettered power. Like,
yeah.
These folks that just feel like they can wield some sort of control over people's lives for no reason, and it would be one thing if they're actually stopping crime. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not. Like, they are not. They just not. Yeah. Whatever decreases in criminal activity that has happened in that country, it's not because of them. It isn't because of them. It's just because of other factors.
Right. Like, people might be more educated, or it might be a nice day outside and people just don't want to, commit crimes the same amount. Yeah.
So, yeah, for instance, oftentimes people used to carry a lot of cash around and that kind of thing. And then over time that, became a thing where that became non-existent virtually. So you can steal someone's credit card or whatnot. Like, it just became more difficult to do certain things, and as a result, certain kind of crime just decreased, and it morphed to other types of crimes. But SARS was still a thing. They would just stop you for no reason. So anyway, this past week there was this part of Lagos where is on Victoria Island, which is where a bunch of rich people live and all of that stuff. And soldiers, not even police officers this time around, soldiers came and they took out the CCTV, And when uniformed folks come take out CCTV, so nothing good is coming out.
Would they take out what TV? I think I'm missing what they're taking out. What
CCTV? Like
is that the national?
No. So
am I an idiot? What is CCTV? Are you saying another word that I just can't understand? Is this like apparently?
So I think it's the acronym stands for closed circuit TV. Basically, these are like these are basically like cameras that are in the streets.
Okay.
Like in the UK, for instance, there are just cameras everywhere, like in the streets.
Yeah, I think we have them here. You mean just surveillance cameras?
Yeah, surveillance cameras.
Okay. So they took out the Oh, I got it. Okay. So it's like they're about to rob everybody, and they took out
They took out the surveillance cameras. So if you think about street lights,
yep, I got you.
We'll have surveillance cameras on them, different corners and whatnot. Yeah. So they came They took those out. The protesters were protesting
Oh,
by
jeez.
someplace, and they opened fire on them.
Oh, jeez.
And of course, they dispersed. I mean, there are videos that I've seen people, people died and people fell and whatnot. Now, the Nigerian government came out the next day, was like, "Oh, nobody died." Right? I'm like, please, like nobody. So that became a thing where they were now arguing about nobody died. Like, I'm like, what is the argument here? The question, take away whether somebody died or not. Who is responsible for sending out soldiers and police officers to go shoot at innocent protesters? These guys, they were protesting innocently, and then from
Right.
there, all hell broke loose where they started burning stuff. And now they now turn around and we're like, well, now we have thugs and whatnot. And I mean, it's the same bullshit that we hear over
Right.
here.
It's like
Like,
I
yeah,
did see
like,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta protect property. I'm like, I mean, anyway.
Wow. So that sounds very similar to kind of what we've been dealing with. Obviously, it's different. It's a different country, but and people aren't necessarily taking out surveillance videos here
Are they not? Are you
before.
sure about that?
I mean, yeah, that's true. I remember that actually reminds me of the Laquan McDonald shooting.
Yeah.
When
Exactly.
there was like a surveillance camera at a local Burger King and they took it out, or they like threatened the manager there to take it out so that they didn't have the video, and then they were found out. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
How many times have we seen shootings here where the police officers were supposed to be wearing their body cams, but for whatever reason, it didn't come on.
Yeah, it just turned on, right? Right when things got heated, for
Like,
some reason it
like
just malfunctioned.
yeah, like there was some malfunction, you forgot to turn it on or whatever, and yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was basically what happened, and of course, we had a bunch of celebrities and Joe Biden, everybody tweeting and about that the Nigerian government should stop whatever they're doing, and of course nobody has taken responsibility, right? Up to today,
Right.
the government says, well, we were the Nigerian police said they weren't the ones that did that. The Nigerian army, I believe, also said no, it wasn't us. Lagos state government said no, that was beyond that. Who did it?
Right. Who was shooting?
Who,
And
like,
again, you don't have surveillance cameras, so you can't see what the uniforms were. But I mean, people have cell phone
people had
videos.
cameras and people saw
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There were cameras and
Yeah. I saw I saw a video.
Yeah.
It was a little hard to make out. It was very dark.
Exactly. I
And-
mean, in that kind of situation, it's going to be more, it's going to be difficult to find.
Was this at night when they did this?
It was kind of like in the evening, so it was like it
Yeah.
wasn't exactly sunset, but it was in the evening, so it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like at dusk or something.
Yeah.
Of.
So there have been some politicians that that ran away from the country because they're afraid that people will come arrest them, or not arrest but like attack them. I mean, because when you have folks out there that are angry, if you are a politician, things become a little dicey for you because things can become unpredictable real quickly. So yeah, I mean, I think, at least from the government's point of view, it was such a missed opportunity to really implement reforms at early on, like to really listen to those guys. Like the Nigerian politicians, they are so used to just the corruption is so ingrained, and the police officers have just become their personal security, where they use them as a political weapon against people in general, to hold people at bay, and against their political enemies as well. So one thing I also say is this protest is just a microcosm of, it's not just about police brutality, it's about just the massive income inequality in that country, and just the fact that the struggles that everyday average Nigerians have. So so regardless of the reforms that come forth from this, whether they disband SARS or not, the problems, the day-to-day problems that people face in their lives is still going to remain if something is not done about that. So I mean, I'm not hopeful that much will change. I think they will pay lip service and whatnot, but in the short run, though, I don't think much will change. Like we've seen this before.
Yeah, I mean that sounds so similar to what's going on over here. Like I know, again, it's a different country and history and all that stuff, but like at the end of the day, that struggle of power and money and it's all in the background. Like there are people who are just frustrated because they have been kind of screwed by the system, continue to be screwed by the system. It's just not systemically a good system for them. And also the pandemic plays a role into this as well. I think the fact that people have been, economies are kind of falling apart. People are bored, scared, anxious. So this stuff was always there, but because there's this kind of global anxiety, they're more likely to now kind of, like they're doing over here, protest, riot, just be like, we're not taking this shit anymore. Why? We have less to lose now.
Exactly. And that is where you don't want to get as a government, right? Where your citizenry feel like, where people feel like they have nothing to lose. Like, we don't care. If you're going to, you're going to kill a million of us. Like, this is a country of 200 million people.
Yeah.
And, the vast majority of them are people like under the age of 30. Like, how many people, how many AK-47s, like are you going to use to kill people? So, in that, and it is a tinderbox. And I don't know if the government realizes it, the government officials realize it yet. The president, ridiculous human being. It didn't even come out. When it came out, he showed no empathy. He didn't say anything for weeks.
Yeah.
For weeks. When he finally gave his speech, I think 2 days ago or something, maybe yes. Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago. He didn't even acknowledge anything. It's just a former military. He's just a ridiculous human being. The interesting thing is Trump, never said anything about this as well. This is something that is all in the news, and Nigeria is a major consequential country on the global economic and political landscape. He didn't say anything. I wonder what he's thinking. Like, this is,
or if he's thinking.
If
he's thinking at all.
Probably preoccupied with other stuff. He's one of the countries he called shit old countries, right? Like, so, maybe that plays into. But then he's an authoritarian who knows? Maybe he thinks, well, maybe why couldn't our police do that? Like, why couldn't they shoot at him?
Well, yeah, why can't they just shoot innocent protesters? And turn off all the surveillance cameras?
So
the guy, the president of Nigeria sounds like Trump would like him. It sounds like he would side with him. To him, he would probably see him as a strong man. You said the president of Nigeria used to be in the military.
Yeah, he used to be in the military. Even though he's a civilian now, quote unquote, whatever that means. But yeah, he used to be in the military. In fact, he did. It was part of a coup in the early 80s. So he's an old guy. He has no business being president. Like, again, this is power. This is all about power. His chief of staff actually died a couple of months ago of COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, the chief of staff died. This chief was also another older person, and these are folks that don't care about the country. The infrastructure of that country is ridiculous. Like, no good hospitals, nothing, and yeah, so yeah, he's just there. He's just a figurehead.
So when you said there's income equality in Nigeria, where where do most of the people who are, I guess, upper class live? Are they? I'm assuming is it like a very segregated country by income equality,
Yeah,
like
yes,
segregated physically? Like,
yes, it is segregated physically. So we have depending. So Lagos. I mean, most people know Lagos, right?
right.
And then there's a segment of Lagos called the Island, Victoria Island. I mean, if you live in Victoria Island, Lekki, or Banana Island, or those kind of places,
Mm-hmm.
these are neighborhoods and places that are more expensive than anywhere you could think of here in the US. So,
Mm-hmm.
or as expensive, like Manhattan. So
Right.
easily apartments going for $2 or $3 million. So,
Jeez.
and then once you cross that bridge to the mainland,
Mm-hmm.
right there, you have people just so once you cross to the mainland, you have people just living in poverty and whatnot. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to and even though it's segregated in that way, you have people that work on the island, right? Like regular people. They have to go every day and pay money to this ridiculous toll gates. They have these toll gates that connects the island to the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
Probably by the time they go back and forth every day, they've already paid all of their salary for the month and they have nothing left. And then by the time they pay police officers and whatnot, like they have not, you know what I'm saying? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
so that is the context that this is, that we have here.
Are these tolls like tolls that we have in the U.S.
Yeah, they are
where?
tolls that we have in the US, but they are more privatized, right? So
Okay.
one of the things that the protesters did actually was they burned down the major toll because I think that was the symbol of just
Mm-hmm.
the the um the angst that is
Right.
out there. Um
Yeah.
yeah, they just burned it down. Like they were like, no, we are tired of giving money to these folks. And
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting that they would make them pay the toll. The people on the island seem like they're doing very well. And why are you taking money from
And word on the
regular?
street is that that toll is actually, I think it's a public-private partnership, so it's not even really a government toll.
Yeah, like there.
Word on
So
the street is
it's
that
fishy of where it's even going. Like it's
yeah.
like this isn't even helping our infrastructure. This is like going straight to the president's
So
pocket.
I think what they would, the folks that they would say, well, the deal we had with the government was that we're gonna like construct some roads and then put a toll here to recoup whatever. But yeah, it has just become a symbol of
Like oppression, I guess, for
yeah,
people.
of oppression. And it's just yeah, it's yeah, that country, man. I mean, it's with that being said, I mean, the people are amazing people. Like, I really wish people that haven't had a chance to visit will visit. Like, if you talk to people that have had the opportunity to visit Nigeria, I mean, they will always talk about how great, how much of a great experience they had. They will sometimes interact and see these police type things themselves, but
Hmm.
outside of that, just the regular folks that you interact with, um, it is it is great to see that. And I think sometimes it is important to make that distinction between the government of a country and the people of that country. I mean, it's kind of like when the US goes to war with when the US government is in conflict with many countries or whatnot. Like I feel
Right.
like sometimes it feels to me like people don't make as good of a distinction between okay, we disagree with this government and
Hmm.
versus the people are bad people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So
it's true here too, as well. Like you're saying, like, I mean, it's sometimes we get so transfixed on the government and how much we hate it. We forget to kind of pay attention to actual people who we see out in the world who aren't nearly as crazy as the internet would have you believe. If you just talk to people one on one or just talk to people as a human being. So,
yeah, yeah, and yeah, and bringing it back to the issue of police brutality here in the US, it's when this came up, as you rightly thought about too, I know in your head you were probably making a mental comparison, like this, you could easily be talking about the US this way. Like, it will seem like a slightly different context, but quite frankly, it is the same in many respects. The fears that a certain segment, Black people in this country, have of the police, it is real. It is a fear that I have. Like, you just get stopped and you're just wondering, okay, you're wondering, it's like you say your last prayers.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's terrifying.
So the funny thing is, this past week, actually yesterday, I came across this clip, right, on Reddit where people were talking about, what if, and this is the question, what if people talk to the police, right? What if people talk to the police the way police talked to people?
Oh, I think I saw a video of that.
A video of that?
Yeah, I think somebody did that, and I don't think it was a real police officer, because this person probably would have been shot, but I think it was like a staged kind of like clip, and it was actually funny the way it looked, because it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, so when let me pull it up and see if we can play it for the folks here.
Yeah, I think that when you see it from someone else, you realize, oh wait, this is kind of a ridiculous way to speak to people.
Yeah, so I think we're. Can you hear this?
Yeah.
It's me watching you take pictures of our parking lot. What's this about? Is that a problem?
Oh, I did see this.
Yeah, this is a police law enforcement parking lot. Yeah.
So this guy is filming the police.
Yeah.
Who are you? I'm Detective Mike Jardine. Oh yeah. What are you working on?
Yes, I did see this. This is
right now. Several cases. Okay.
You see how scared the police officer was
Are you
too?
working on something right now?
Yep.
Money? Yeah. Yeah. All right. What are you working on? What are you working on?
Can you believe it? The black ass told that to a police officer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what you doing here? What you working on? I mean, just yeah. No, that wouldn't work.
I'm asking the questions. Where have you been today? Have you been?
This is actually hilarious. I do remember this.
You're on this property, so you need to answer my questions. Are you drunk? Why are you still in your place today? So have you been here all day, or have you been out? Have you been to the bar?
Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
I'm an investigator. Investigator for who? Investigative journalist. I investigate.
No, I think that police that cop got scared. Lady.
I'm wondering, where have you been today? Have you been here all day, or have you been out at the bar at all? Working on a case. Okay. Okay. Have you been to the bar at all today? Okay.
This is amazing.
Oh my God.
Drugs today? What a ridiculous question.
Yeah.
It's not a ridiculous question. Do you know where he's been today?
So now this is him asking another officer standing in the background.
Do you know what time his shift started? Did he usually drink on the job? Or?
Oh my God.
This is so good. Yes, I've seen this. I don't remember where I saw it, but this is a.
Breathalyzed him?
So we'll let this play for like a couple more seconds, like about a minute more.
Would you submit to a breathalyzer for me right now?
Like at this point, I started to get scared.
Right.
Right now. Or what? Or what? You're on my property. This isn't your property. Shut the hell up.
Oh my God. See here?
I said shut up and get out of here. No, you get out of here now.
This is old.
You better get your boy.
Oh my God.
Get your butt back in your office and do your job. You shut up.
But I just love how he actually leaves. The police officer actually leaves.
I know.
You quit drinking on the job. You understand me?
So for context, if anyone's listening and they're not looking at it, so there's an investigative journalist, so he says, who's speaking to, I think, a plainclothes officer in a parking lot outside of a police station. So the officer's not dressed in uniform. I guess he has his gun, but it's not clear. He's dressed in like a tie and a
just like the way a normal detective.
Yeah, he's dressed like a detective. So he just sees the guy. He sees the investigative journalist in the parking lot, kind of just in the parking lot with filming with a camera, and so the detective comes out and asks him what he's doing here, and that's kind of when the situation started, where the investigative journalist started asking him those questions like a police officer, which was brilliant and hilarious. It actually reminded me of a time I got pulled over when I was 17, and I was coming from homecoming. And I had dropped my girlfriend off at the time, and then I was just driving back, and I guess I was speeding a little bit. It was like on a road where nobody was there. I grew up in a relatively small town, like 60,000 people, which isn't a lot. And it was like midnight. I was driving home, pulled me over, and I don't drink. Unlike a lot of white kids in my neighborhood and just in my general town, I didn't drink, and I didn't have anything to drink that night. And I remember being breathalyzed that night. I remember him asking me if I had anything to drink and giving me a breathalyzer, and I was like, I mean, sure, but I looked it up later on, and I realized that you can't do that. Like there has to be some type of reasonable suspicion that I was drinking. You can't just give me, like, dude, he literally would have like given me a DUI over that.
Yeah,
for no reason. And I was 17, and I was one of the good kids. I wasn't even drinking. There were plenty of people who probably were drinking that night.
It's not a question of whether you're a good kid or not. The question is, are you a black kid?
Are you a black kid?
Like, who cares?
Yeah, I don't give a shit if you're good or bad, whatever that means. You're a black kid. So
like,
yeah, I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, you're a black kid. I mean, you know, as that was happening, what I actually thought of was the incident that we had that night in Charlottesville.
Yep.
Where we got pulled over twice.
Oh my gosh, we got pulled over. Yeah, we got pulled over
twice in one night.
And Charlottesville's not that large, so we had driven maybe 4 miles in the entire night. That's it.
We got pulled over the first time. I don't even remember what the guy. I think it was like the first guy was like, maybe he said I turned and I switched lanes or something ridiculous like that. And the second time was the one that kind of like scared me the most. So this was when we were close to our apartment.
Right.
Made that turn on is this Sunset Boulevard? What is that? What's that street?
Sunset Boulevard. That's in LA. Was it Rodeo Drive? I wish.
This was Stonefield. Was it Stonefield Commons?
Stonefield, yeah, Stonefield Commons.
So yeah, pulled over this guy, woo, and it was like, okay, and I was the one driving. It was like, okay. Then I asked him, because at this point I'm like, I was kind of upset because I knew that, okay, we are literally.
We could have just gotten out and gone to our apartment. We were basically in the apartment parking lot.
Basically,
like seriously, we could have just parked there and just walked to our apartment.
So I was like, okay, why did I get pulled over? He was like, this is just a safety stop.
A safety stop at 3 a.m. and it was late because to give y'all background, the reason we were driving, and I think we were actually not driving our car. I think we were driving Amanda Turner's car, who was she was in law school with us.
I don't know if you want to mention her name, but
she'll be Aiight.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot. She'd be Aiight. I don't think she might listen to this. And then shout out to
Amanda.
This doesn't make her look bad. Anyway, she'd be Aiight. So we were. It was it was like her birthday.
It was her birthday. Yep.
So we were just driving. I think we were driving her car, and we were like designated drivers. I feel like I got. Was it you who got pulled over the first time, or me? I know you got pulled over
both times.
Okay. I was in the front seat. Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, that second time. So we were driving her car. I remember that. So, and I don't remember if she had a UVA license, a UVA decal on the back. And I think maybe if she didn't, maybe that's why we got pulled over. I had never been pulled over twice in one night in Charlottesville until that night.
So the reason why, to give some context about the UVA decal, I mean, that was just, a theory that we had, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, hey, the cops out here in Charlottesville, they are wild, especially in Central Virginia. Who knows? Like, when you're driving from Charlottesville to DC, Orange,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't count number of Confederate flags you're gonna see. Or yeah. So the theory that we had was, look, and when I say we, I'm talking about a good chunk of black law students. I don't know if other law students felt this way, but at least I know the black folks. We
Oh,
felt
they
like,
did.
hey, so that we have, in order for us to have a lower probability of getting harassed by the police, maybe if we have a decal, and we had to get as big a decal as possible on
Yeah.
our car, perhaps,
Yeah.
that
No,
would
I did
save us.
too. As soon as I got into the business school, I put another one on my car. I was like, "Yep, I'm in the business school too." So, I had two big ass decals, like one on the right and one on the left,
It's
like so you could not be
UVA law.
confused.
Hey, I missed that. Please don't shoot me.
Right? No, exactly. So, you had one, a big one. Yours was
I had a
huge
big
too.
one. I had
Yours
a
was
big one.
big. You had a
I
big
think
Virginia
Amanda
law.
had one as well. Amanda definitely had one.
Okay.
I mean, we went to, I mean, who knows? They could have thought we stole the car. I mean, now that
Yeah.
I'm thinking, it's actually ridiculous that we thought we weren't going to get stopped for no reason.
Yeah, I know. And I remember because we dropped her off or whatever. It was early. It was early in the morning. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, which is normal time for people to just kind of hang out if you're partying.
We dropped her off. Like, we pulled in one car, we dropped her off, and then we had a car, and I don't even remember. I think there may have been other people in the car as well. But anyway, it was. I remember actually being scared because when he asked for the ID and whatnot, I was like, officer, I'm reaching for the for the glove compartment for the papers or insurance, whatever. Like, because I was like, I don't want to get shot. I don't.
Yeah.
I want to go home. But
No.
that was that was wild, man. It was and when the George Floyd thing, protest and all of that happened this summer, I started thinking about that incident, and it dawned on me that we are actually traumatized. Like, can you imagine just living in this society, trying to figure out how not to get shot or harassed by the police every day?
Yeah.
Like, that looms large in our lives when we're in Charlottesville, and and even today. So it's kind of like, I mean, like we're just a traumatized bunch that we're just figuring out ways to get home safe and alive. So it's and this is normal, right? This is just normal. That
Right.
we have to think about, okay, if you go for a run, make sure you wear a UVA law shirt. If you go for if you drive into the store, make sure you have your big decal on your car. So at least, I mean,
yep. You just wanted to differentiate yourself from people who weren't at UVA, the black townies.
I mean,
because
there was that incident with Martise Johnson. Was that his name?
Yeah. Are you
Right.
hearing an echo, by the way? I'm sorry. Am I echoing?
No.
You hear that? Okay. I don't hear it anymore. I think it went away.
Yeah, we good.
Sorry. But yeah, Martise Johnson. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, he was a UVA student.
Yeah. But he didn't have his ID. So for those who don't know or don't remember, Martise Johnson was a junior at UVA at the time. I don't think he was he 21? So he was trying to get into a bar that was a bar that a lot of people went to, a lot of students went to. There were like 3 bars in UVA, and it was a place called The Corner that had the 3 bars. And he was trying to get into, I think it was Trinity was one of the bars that he was trying to get into. And they asked for his ID, and he gave them an ID, but they claimed there was some issue with the ID. I don't remember the details exactly. All I know is at the end of that interaction, he ended up walking away and not getting into the bar, and then police grabbed his arm. And obviously, if you're just walking and someone's grabbing your arm, like from behind, your natural reaction is just like, what are you doing? And so he kind of was like, what are you doing? And then they tackled him and threw him to the ground and ended up banging his head on the ground because his head was bleeding. And I saw pictures of that. This was when we were in our last year of law school and business school.
Yeah.
And it was just such a ridiculous thing to have happened. I guarantee you not a single white kid who's ever been to Trinity ended up with their head gashed and on the ground being tackled by police. And he at the time wasn't wearing like a UVA sweatshirt or anything. So to them, and not that necessarily going to UVA would shield you from police brutality, but the thought in our head, which is kind of ridiculous, but like Lai was saying, was that if we could differentiate ourselves and say, hey, I'm a student here, that would shield us somewhat. But yeah, he ended up settling. We knew that we went to law school with the lawyer who represented him in the case, and they ended up Martise Johnson ended up settling.
Yeah,
he's in law school now.
Yeah, and the thing about it also was, as it was being tackled and being brutalized, he was actually saying, "I'm a UVA law student."
Oh, he did say that. He said, "Oh yeah, I go to UVA. I go to UVA."
Something like that.
Yeah, he kept saying, "I go to UVA."
And
yeah.
I mean, so that he thought that would save him.
Yeah, well. And it didn't. They just, I mean. It was wild. We had a wild time while we were at UVA. I was thinking about that. Like, so much shit happened while we were at UVA. It was a wildly political time to be there. Of course,
it was a wild time. I remember it was during our time there that Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Was that when it happened, or when did
we were there when it happened? So it happened in 2012.
You're right.
And so we were there when that happened, and then when the no verdict came out was 2013 in July. So we were there too.
Yeah. So it's funny how the way people generally talk about folks just living different lives, in America and whatnot. That was one, because it was how distraught the black students felt. And the rest of the UVA law population, even just UVA in general, it was almost like there was this social thing going on,
right.
And there was zero acknowledgement of it. Like it was just business as usual. Oh, you want to go to the corner tonight? Like you want to.
Right. Yeah. No, there was a lot of that. I think I remember, Eric Garner, when that happened while we were there. And I remember being in a civil rights law class and people not talking about it. And I'm just like, wow, I hate it here. I need to just graduate.
I remember this class. Remember we took criminal procedure, and this wasn't even related to a particular. Like, oh my God.
I hated that class. Yeah. We're gonna probably mention that class a lot and how much I hate it. Yeah, I know who you are. I know the teacher. I might shout you out on this thing. We'll see. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, we took criminal procedure. So Trayvon Martin was shot in February 2012. Right.
Yep.
And we took criminal procedure that semester.
Yeah, we did.
That was never like it did not come up. I actually remember one of the most ridiculous things that came up was, I don't even remember the case that we were discussing. And the professor was like, well, everyone knows that when the police arrives, relief has come.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. We were reading, it was some case. Was she quoting? Did she say that, or was that Scalia? I think she was quoting Scalia.
Yeah.
Where Scalia, he was an idiot. I mean, he wasn't an idiot. Like that was the problem. He wasn't an idiot. I just didn't agree with him. But he.
You can call him an idiot.
But he actually was like the funny thing was, like, I liked. His opinions were well written and funny.
What does that mean? Like, his opinions are well written. Like, no, he wasn't an idiot. He has. See, this is okay. Finish your thought.
I was just saying. No, I enjoy. Like, they were entertaining. His opinions were well written and interesting, and I disagreed with them pretty much wholeheartedly on the substance of them. But I thought it was well.
So that is the language. And I'm gonna call your black ass out. That's the language that people use when we fall into this trap when you quote unquote part of the elite. You are like your fancy lawyer with your fancy law degree, working in a fancy law firm, and you cannot call a justice an idiot, right?
Yeah, man. I don't know.
You cannot call a justice an idiot because he's quote unquote smart. Just because he's a justice doesn't mean he has absolute disregard for Black lives. I don't care how fancy your words are, how funny you are. Like, ha ha ha, I'm funny, laughing at Black people as they getting shot and all. Like, I don't give a fuck how funny you are. Like, it's like you are worse than an idiot. Like, I actually feel like I'm debasing the word idiot by using the word on him. Like, he embodied what was wrong with this country, what has been wrong with this country, especially when it comes to the judiciary and how it has treated and relegated certain people to it has regarded certain people as second-class citizens. He was largely responsible for that because of his. So in law school, when people would talk about him as this revered figure, and no, look at what he represented and what he stood for. Yes, a lot of other lawyers, not just lawyers, like justices on the Supreme Court, will vote with him on some of these landmark cases. But if you think about it in terms of how he has influenced the jurisprudence of this country for worse, can you tell me one case that he had actually influenced the jurisprudence of this country for better?
I mean, probably not, but so
I think I'm putting you spot. You got to defend Scalia today. Woo!
So I differentiate between agreeing with you and saying someone is an idiot. Like you can have horrible policies, you can think of horrible things, but calling someone I understand, like an idiot in the sense that he's a bigot, he's an ignoramus, but I don't think he's. Yeah, of course, but that doesn't mean you're an idiot.
Okay.
Like, you're an idiot with that specific thing. Like, it's dumb to think, Black people aren't human beings. That's a dumb thought. I get that, but I'm just saying, like, intellectually, he was very smart, and that's actually makes him way more dangerous. It's not necessarily like a compliment. For me, it's just like I think Mike Pence is smarter than Trump. That doesn't mean I think Mike Pence is a better human being than Trump. I think Mike Pence is more dangerous than Trump because he's more he's just smarter. I mean, that doesn't take much. I'm not saying Mike Pence is Albert Einstein, but you know what I mean? So Scalia, that's like, I think of people like who are just like Scalia, they're witty and they're intelligent, but they have these horrible like ideas and they're good at implementing them. And it's like,
I see your point. Like if we say, I mean, I'm not suggesting that it's dumb,
right? It's just that we got to be like law students. What's the definition of the idiot? How are we using it here?
That is what I was trying to get out of. Like, for me,
but I still liked it. I still thought he wrote well, though. I'm still not going to act like I didn't. I remember his opinions more than I remember others' opinions.
The reason why I basically shut down that whole thing about him writing well, because that's not the question. If you're on the Supreme Court, like I can write well, like whatever. Like I just thought it's a way for elites that know that this justice was despicable. It was despicable. I feel like when they preface that, it's a way to soften what he actually stood for. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't want to hear it. If you are on the Supreme Court, by definition, you should be able to write well. Like, which of those justices doesn't write well? Like,
no, I know, but I think he wrote particularly well. But I know what you're saying. You think that they use it as a way to just like not acknowledge the real pain that he's caused actual people, because he hasn't caused those people pain, because people who are arguing about Scalia aren't going to be affected by these policies for the most part.
Exactly. So people, you have this pundit always going on. I mean, you know that nobody's going to nominate me for the Supreme Court justices or for anything.
I'm still holding out that I could get on the Supreme Court, so I'm not going to call him an idiot. No, I'm just kidding.
Look, you on this podcast, man. Your ass has
No, I can't do anything now, especially since I've done comedy. I'm like, wow, I can't do shit. I would be canceled immediately.
You have been canceled.
I've been canceled. I've decided to be canceled for this podcast, which is fine.
Like, but hey,
not that I was in the running for anything in any way. Not with that criminal procedure grade. I'm not. So
at the end of the day,
I'm lucky to have a yeah. I'd be Aight. I'm lucky to have a job.
Yeah, this podcast better work.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
yeah, no, I will be Aight.
If you were to be nominated for something.
I basically said, fuck that. I have no interest in being nominated for anything. Which is because you know there are certain people in law school who, like, you know what I mean? Like, they want to be nominated for stuff, or they have this idea of, oh, one day I want to be a judge. Like, you know, certain people.
We know someone like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like we're pretty sure they want to be a Supreme Court justice.
We know two of them. We're not going to mention any names. One is white, one is black.
Yeah.
Who they both like? Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But good luck.
Yeah, shout out to him. But it's
the white guy. I think he's going to.
Yeah,
he's going.
Well,
to.
He'll be a judge. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, not on this. I mean, you know.
Yeah, he'll be a judge.
Who knows? Like, that's such a
random crapshoot, which is a weird system that we have, that 9 people decide the most important political questions of our time. But I mean, we can get into that later, but it's like, or we can get into it now. What do you think? You think they're gonna, so they're gonna, I heard the Democrats are going to, boycott Barrett's the vote for Barrett. It's like, okay, you can boycott all you want, they're still going to vote for her. Like, I don't know what that's going to do.
So they boycotted the vote in committee, in the Judiciary Committee, but I guess they changed the rules or whatnot, and they voted her out of committee. So they're going to vote, I believe, next week on Monday now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be on court. Right.
It's just like, just accept that loss.
She's gonna. So the question for me is not whether she's gonna be nominated or not. The question for me is Joe Biden, if the Democrats win, is Joe Biden going to, quote unquote, pack the courts, like appoint maybe at least 2 justices on the Supreme Court? That's the question for me. So what do you think about that? Do you think?
I'm all for it. And I think he probably will, because I remember they asked him that question at the debate and he wouldn't answer. And to me, that just shows that, yes, I want this option, but I'm not trying to alienate people who might vote for me with answering yes. But I mean, go for it.
I don't know if this is controversial or not. Man, talking about controversies. So in the beginning, when they asked him the question and it was like, it wasn't answering, and I was skeptical that it was actually going to do it. This week, I think he came out and he said, well, he's gonna commission some kind of a study to try and like.
I'm like, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he doesn't want to alienate anyone. I hate when politicians do that. That's Kamala Harris would do stuff like that. Yeah, where she's like, let me think about that, because I don't want to say the wrong thing and alienate the wrong people. Yeah. That's all that is.
I'm like, just come on and say whatever you're gonna do. But I think I'm probably now more than 50% there that they're gonna do it, and it is for one reason that I think so, because of white women.
Interesting.
So if you look at the issues that people, when it comes to, the right for women to be able to do whatever, to make decisions over their body
Right.
choice. The majority of women in this country, not just women, even men in this country, but that issue has animated. If you're breaking down political groups into, if you segment in that way, I think if you look at the way that has animated a ton of white women.
Mm.
You know
Those particular, like the abortion issue.
Yes, the abortion issue.
Yeah.
Like that is something that is to be able to, so because I feel like if that was a black woman issue, black woman only, or black people only, if there are black folks only issues at hand, nobody cared. Like it wasn't gonna happen.
Right.
But because of that, I think that, when you talk about, when you think about the whole thing about the resistance, right? Like if you think about what the resistance is and who, all of the protests, the anti-Trump, like all of that stuff. And if you just look at the polling, like I think when you're breaking down voting demographics, those kinds of issues, and even, like I think if for no other reason, that reason alone has made me think that the Democrats are going to do it, because the Republicans will have to run against that, right? They will have to run against saying, hey, no, we actually we want conservative judges that are going to overturn
Roe v. Wade.
Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. So you think he'll say that before the election, though?
No,
you
I
think
don't think he's going to say that before the election, but I think post the election, if they're just thinking about whether this is going to be popular, or maybe I'm giving them credit. I think if I'm just projecting what I'm thinking on the Democrats, right? I feel like the way they are going to justify packing the courts is by saying we have to make sure that we protect Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
So they're going to make it about Roe v. Wade. The Republicans have always made the Supreme Court about Roe v. Wade, right?
It's always,
they thought it was popular for them. Now it is popular. Like, most Americans don't want it overturned. So they're going to make it about Roe v. Wade. So it's going to become about, nope, we have to protect Roe v. Wade.
What's the statistics on how many people are who are pro-choice? It's more than 50%, right?
Absolutely. Like, it's got to be.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I live in a bubble where pretty much everyone I know is pro-choice. I don't know. But I do know Roe v. Wade is the backdrop for pretty much all of political life in America.
So I'm looking at, this is from last year. 3/4 of Americans say they want to keep in place the landmark Supreme Court Roe v. Wade. So,
that's what I was thinking, like 75%.
Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah, it's wild how, like, if you look at polling,
if you look at Republicans, only 31% of Republicans are saying to overturn Roe v. Wade. So the whole country, only 13% are saying overturn. 11% are saying they are unsure.
But you know what's interesting
about that? Like, you need to take your ass to some asylum place. But anyway,
right? You know what's interesting though? It's like that 31% that says that they're against Roe v. Wade. So a higher percentage of that 30% will actually vote.
Exactly. Like 99% of them.
Right. Exactly. Like maybe 100% of that 30% will vote, whereas like 45% of the rest of the people will vote. And that's why it looks like half of the country thinks this way and half the country thinks this way. That's not true at all. It's just who's voting.
It's not true at all. That is absolutely right. And that is why, and that's what Republicans have always understood, right? They acutely understand that they will always lose if you expand voting, if you make voting easy. So which is why they've always tried to just figure out ways to restrict and couch it under voter fraud and all of these other nonsense things that they peddle. So the thing is, the 31% of Republicans is a minority of Republicans.
Right.
The 31% of Republicans that want to overturn Roe v. Wade, we're being ruled by a minority of a minority party. Like,
that is exactly. It is. It's insane. I honestly, personally don't understand why people think they should have the right to tell women what to do. It literally doesn't make. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I, just if you don't believe in abortion, which okay, fine, don't get one, but that should be it. You want to have a rule where you're telling everyone what they can and cannot do, and maybe I don't know. For me, it's just it literally doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to many people. It is mind-boggling why. Yeah, but even when you take out abortion, right? Even if you look at every other major policy that we have, gun control, like, passing background checks or universal those kind of things is polling at like 90%.
Everyone agrees. Everyone except for this small, ridiculous minority agrees. This loud, ridiculous minority who votes a lot agrees. We're all like, yeah, what's the problem with a background check? What's the problem with just making it a tiny bit harder for a high school loner to get a gun and shoot up his classroom? Who disagrees with that?
Look, so when when Belize was after Sandy Hook happened, Obama passed this executive order, like he signed this executive order basically saying, hey, if you have been judicially adjudicated to be that you're not able to manage your affairs, right? And when say manage your affairs, basically manage your social security or any kind of income that is coming to you from the government. So basically, it means that you have some clinical disability or mental disability that you're
what's the legal term for that? It's not incompetent. It's when you can't sign something. What is it called?
You are just incapacitated to make your decisions or whatnot. So it's not just family members saying that, oh, this guy cannot make this decision. It's basically saying you've been judicially. Yes, the court said that you cannot buy a gun.
Right. and they flipped shit. Yeah. Like, you're telling me
they lost their mind over that. Like, it just coming into office, he basically overrode that, and that was one of the things he touted. I'm like, we are being quote unquote led by insane people that should be in the mental hospital.
Yeah, that doesn't make it. I never, the gun issue, I mean, I've tried to read books about it and just try to understand it. There was an interesting book I read. I think it's called Gunfight, and it's written from a legal analyst, and kind of just talks about the history of gun rights in this country and the back and forth. And yeah, look, I hate when people say it's my Second Amendment right? Like, they act like it's this like God-given right. Like, I don't think people understand that all of this stuff is made up. Every single law you've ever adhered to is something that someone made up and can be changed. It's called the Second Amendment because it was an amendment to the original Constitution. Someone changed it. Like, it's an amendment. They added it. And it doesn't, and like, okay, fine. You feel like, I think we have way too many guns in this country to get them out, right? Like, that we're living in a fantasy world if we think that we can just have this program, or we have like a buyback program, or we do like Australia did. We're just a different country. We're run by guns. There's more guns than people in this country, or at least about the same. But I think that just have some sensible stuff. Like, I get, fine, you want to have your guns, fine, but you got to be sensible about it. Like, we need to have common sense gun laws. We can't just let whoever get a gun whenever. There are plenty of people who have them that are, I'm fine with. I have a friend who has guns, and I'm fine with them. He's sensible-ish.
Are you afraid to say something about him?
No, I'm not. No, fuck that guy. No, I'm not saying. I'm just trying to think. Like, I mean, am I fine with anyone having a gun? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not fine with having a gun. I don't know what people are going to do. I don't trust people generally.
Yeah.
So for me, when I say I'm fine with someone having a gun, that's not 100% true. I'm mostly fine with some people having guns, but really prefer no one have them. But if they must, there are certain people I'd rather have them than not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's and it's such a shame, man. Like, if you look at the number of kids that die every year from accident, just because the only thing they did wrong was to live in a house with guns, domestic violence. I mean, when you have family members, couples or whatnot argue, and one person just picks up a gun and shoots the other. Like, I don't believe that Americans are inherently more violent than other people. But when we have the sheer amount of guns in this country, yeah, I mean, how many people die from guns every year?
Yeah.
Like thousands upon thousands of people.
I think it's 33 a year, 33,000 a year.
Imagine that. The United States Congress passed a law saying that it is illegal for the U.S. government, for I believe it's the NIH or any other U.S. body to study.
I saw that.
To study the issue, to just study as a public health issue, right?
Right.
If anything kills 33,000 Americans, that should be something that we should be studying a year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and
you're talking about 10 9/11s.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 1 year.
I know. 1 year. Yeah. All the time. Every single year. The only time it might be down now just because people aren't out. I don't know. I mean, or it could be up because people are stressed. I haven't looked at the numbers, but either way, people are getting shot every day and killed in the country. And it's something that people need to we need to take more seriously. And I mean, I can understand if I live somewhere if I live somewhere in like a rural part of the country or more rural, and you really are kind of out there alone. Like I went to upstate New York earlier this year in the summertime with a couple of people, and we just got like a house or whatever. And I was like, it wouldn't be bad to have a gun, maybe if we're just out here by ourselves, because you really are out there by yourself. And at the same time, you really are out there by yourself, so it's unlikely somebody will try to get you, but you do feel a little bit more vulnerable. But stuff like that, like if people have guns and they're sensible and they went through the proper background checks and we had sensible regulations with them and they use them for hunting or whatever, there are thousands of people or millions of people, I'm sure, who do that all the time, and it's fine. But there needs to be more regulations. We have more regulations on, like, I don't know. It's harder to vote than it is to get a gun, and that needs to stop.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we should probably. I think you.
There were other topics we wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
we kind of started off on something heavy, but it's an important topic. So
yeah,
it was good to talk about it and digest it. I mean, other than that, I mean, we can talk quickly about Jeffrey Toobin.
What I was thinking is, we can talk about a few more things and probably break it into two. You know what I'm saying? Like if we have,
that's fine.
Yeah. So, well, we are back.
Part 3.2, episode 3.2, episode 4. I don't know what this is. Look, we're just going. So we'll figure it out later. Whatever. We be all right.
Yeah, we be all right. So, Manny, there was a particular analyst that that got in trouble this week. So this is Jeffrey Toobin, right? I mean, you know the funny thing is, okay, actually, can you
The
tell
funny
us
thing
how
is the whole thing. Okay, sure, I'll tell you what happened. At least as far as how I know what happened. So Jeffrey Toobin is a legal analyst at CNN. He's written I actually read one of his books. He wrote the book about the O.J. Simpson trial, which was then moved into a FX series about the O.J. Simpson case. Have you seen that, by the way? Oh, I think I might have some technical. Can you?
No, I've not seen it.
Okay, yeah, it's actually really, really good, and the book is good too. Super interesting, but it's really well done. The FX series, I highly recommend it. Watching it, but anyway, so this guy Jeffrey Toobin, this legal analyst, was on a work call, and he was on some type of election simulation Zoom call.
All right.
Yeah, he was on some type of simulation. I mean, eventually he got on another type, I think. I don't know. But at the time he was on a work call with colleagues, and they were doing an election simulation of some sort. It was like a Zoom meeting. And at some point, for some reason, he thought it was a good idea to start masturbating on the call. Now he's claiming he thought his video was off and the audio was off. But I think the deeper question is, why were you doing that anyway while you were on this call? So
you think he's guilty?
Guilty of, I really do think he thought his video was off. Okay. I just am wondering, I don't know. I mean, hey, look, whatever you do but here's the thing that's interesting, because people are like, was he at work or was he at home? And the question is it's kind of muddled. The answer is kind of muddled because, I mean, technically, when you're off of a Zoom call, are you at work? Like, if you think you're off of a Zoom call, are you at work? And yeah. I mean, yes, there's a larger issue of why are you doing that at 11:30 in the morning when you just finished watching an election simulation? Like, I don't know why that stimulated you so much, but I don't know. It was interesting. There's a lot to unpack there. He was.
So I'm mixed about this, right? Just from the I'm mixed about it because over the last couple of, I would say 8-9 months now, we all zoomed out, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone is just tired of everything. You're stuck at home. You cannot do anything, and who knows, like stressed. In close quarters with family members, sometimes you need a break. You need a break. Now, but this is what I read. I read that some of his co-workers actually saw him kind of like on some other call, like another video call, almost like maybe like a sex call, or maybe was watching porn or whatever. So I think there are two ways to analyze this. I mean, we are lawyers, right? So we got to be able to get to the bottom of this, Jeff. We got to be able to get to the bottom. Okay, so the question is, okay, was this intentional or not? Like, was it being voyeuristic? Like, was it, you know what I'm saying? Like, was he trying to just have his coworkers see him build shit up? Like, I mean, how else can you say, like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We're trying to do that on purpose, right?
Right.
I think the consensus is kind of like no.
I don't think so. I really don't.
So I don't think so either. So okay, so now putting that aside, which now begs the question. So which now leads to the other question: like, is this appropriate? When you are when you know that you're having a call. Now, on the one hand, I think they even said that he lowered his video, right? Like he lowered his video, like he thought it was off or whatnot. So
right. Which just made it worse because it just like she made it closer to the show.
What I thought was funny was the language he used. It was like, I thought I muted my Zoom. I'm like,
It's like, dude, you do realize, yeah, you muted your Zoom. I don't think that was the problem. I don't think the noises were the problem. I think it would be much better if you turned off your camera and kept the sound on. Like, what are you doing, Jeffrey? Is that? oh, sorry, I was beating turkey or something. I don't know. You just make something.
But at the end of the day, I kind of think it sucks for him though, because
it's
I don't
terrible.
think he did it on purpose. I don't think he did it on purpose. I think he thought it was off camera.
Yeah.
So, we have. I mean, I think there are even websites out there that are tracking Zoom things, right? Like what people have been doing on Zoom on camera, like people's backgrounds and all this kind of things. And it's hard. It's hard. Like, I think it sucks for him. Like, so the question, I guess, what do you think should be his punishment?
I don't think, I mean, I do have, you see it and you're like, oh God, I know what you mean. We're like, that sucks for him. Like, that's just shitty. Here's this guy who had this really good career as a legal analyst, and then this thing happens. I mean, I think I used really bad judgment. I don't think, he used horrible judgment to do this at that time when you're so monitored by everything. I mean, it seems like if he was on another call, that means he had like at least 2 screens, and he was wilding out if he just, was risking that, you know what I mean? To do that then at that time with all that going on, that's risky and kind of wild. So I think he used horrible judgment, but it's weird, right? Because it's like he's home technically, and as soon as you're off Zoom, I don't know. I don't think he did not have the intent. The intent there was not to show his colleagues, hey guys, check this out, right? But at the same time, what if he was doing it in his office? Like, you shouldn't do it at your office. What if he was doing it in his office or something, and then someone just opened the door? Like, he was so reckless. Does the intent matter? And this is kind of like a legal question. So I know I don't know. I mean, to me, I would prefer to just be like, hey, let's just forget that this happened. Like, this was embarrassing. It's almost like taking a shit in front, like you forgot to turn your camera off and you took a shit in front of your colleagues. It's just like, let's just move on. But I don't know. I think he will have to, unfortunately, step away. But I think he'll be able to come back from this. I think. But who knows? I don't know.
You think so?
I don't know. I mean, for some reason, as soon as I saw that it happened, I envisioned him being on CNN again at some point. I don't know why. I just could see him eventually coming back. I don't know if it will be anytime soon, but obviously he didn't mean to do it, and it was reckless, but he didn't mean to do it. And I think that eventually people will just move on, be like, whatever. Some people may have missed the story. The way the news moves so quickly, some people may have missed it.
So the thing is, I think earlier in the week, when was it this week or last week that everyone came out? I don't remember. But anyway,
I think it was this week.
So I had no appetite to actually check it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of saw it, headlines and whatnot. I didn't even bother into reading the details until like last night. I was just like, okay, what the hell happened to Jeffrey? Anyway,
it was too juicy for me to not look. I was like, what happened? I had the exact opposite reaction. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. I didn't want to read anything serious. I was just like, wait, what?
The other interesting thing that happened this past week, though, was you saw 50 Cent, right? Like, basically saying,
oh yeah, I saw that 50 Cent endorsed Donald Trump. Yeah. Because of Joe Biden's tax plan. Let's talk about taxes, because I have thoughts about when people say stuff like this. There was a funny meme going around where it was like talking about how Joe Biden's tax plan, it taxes people who make over 400K, and then people who make 35K are freaking out, like on on the internet. It's like, are you serious? Like, 400K, you make 400K, yeah, your taxes might go up, but so what? Like, I don't know. I maybe I'm ignorant about. I've always, and I think this is a privileged perspective for me to say this, but I've always just wanted enough money to be comfortable, and after that, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just doesn't matter to me. Like this greedy obsession with just getting the most money. It just, I don't get it. And if I'm making $400K and they tax me that high, I'm still living a very comfortable life.
So two issues for me here. One is, what he actually said, and two is ignorance about taxes, right? So he's talking about 62% tax, being taxed 62%. Like, is it that you don't understand how taxes work in terms of how regressive taxation works, right? Like it's not 62% of 400K, up to a certain amount you pay X amount, and then as you make more, the taxes increase. So
if you make over 400K, that's taxed at 62%.
Yeah, so it's not like you're only going home
with what would that be, 175 or something? 180. I don't know what that is.
So it's not like you got to pay your local taxes or whatnot on that as well. No, that's not what this is saying at all. He's basically saying, so that's one. He probably knows, but he
might not. I mean, honestly, I was a little shaky on that myself. So I also did badly in tax in law school. So
the reason why I think he knows, so which brings me, actually is a good thing you said, because which brings me to my second question is people like 50 Cent, right? So this is what he said. What the F? Vote for Trump. I'm out. F New York. The Knicks never win anyway. I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your effing mind? He tweeted.
Yeah.
I don't care. Trump doesn't like black people. Now, he's basically saying that, what he's saying there is, Black Lives Matter, this guy passing policies to disenfranchise black people, none of that matters to me. What matters to me is the money that I'm making. And and this is something that I've thought about for some time too, in terms of some of these hip hop artists, right? Like, who have made money from the suffering of black folks. You know what I mean? So
50 made money off of the suffering of himself. Like, he got shot 9 times, and that man made an album about it and sold 10 million copies. So
yeah. So, but I mean, when these people, when they talk about growing up in the projects or doing X, Y, or Z, or having been victims of this or that, that is suffering of black people,
right?
That you've monetized that.
Oh yeah.
Now you are now at a point where, okay, nobody's even saying you shouldn't have an opinion about taxes. It's okay for you to say, you know what, I don't want to pay X amount of taxes, or you make your money. That everyone has that argument, right? Like, nobody wants to pay, nobody wants to pay excessive taxes. But the idea that I don't care, Trump doesn't like black people, like, so you are aware of the fact that of what this man represents. You're like, no, vote for Trump. I don't care that he doesn't like black people. What I care about is that I don't want to pay 62%, which is not even true. So that is what I was getting at. Like, I mean, what do you do with this kind of people, with these kinds of people, right? Like, because on the one hand, you saw the Trump campaign. They went to town with this, right? Because they think black people listen to this kind of folks, right? But what we cannot ignore as well is the fact that, for someone like 50 Cent, he has some name recognition, right? Like, who knows what number of people out there says this. I would argue that the majority of people that see his tweet, that hear him talk about this, that now are going to go vote Trump because he said this, are not making anywhere close to 400K.
Right. Well, most of us aren't making 400K, but I guarantee you, if anyone's listening to this and doesn't understand, listening to 50, just any population doesn't make 400K, right? Like of that many people. But 50 Cent has always been an asshole. Like, so I like to just understand the background of 50 Cent. I've kind of watched him in his career, and once he kind of became slightly irrelevant in music, he started doing other things with Power, which is his show on Showtime, but he's also just a troll. So I feel like he just needs attention because his music isn't really popping. And it was back like in the 2000s, but he's always been an ass. He's always had this mindset. You can just kind of tell. He's super greedy, selfish. Part of that is kind of what attracts people to him. That's part of what made his music kind of cool. And it kind of like the Trump thing. 50 Cent is kind of like a black Donald Trump in a way. Like he has that kind of that New York
black Donald Trumps.
50 Cent, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't 50 Cent isn't like someone who you're gonna see at like protests or rallies. He was never socially conscious. He was always about making money. His movie and first album were called Get Rich or Die Trying. Like he's just all about money. His name is 50 Cent. His name is currency. Like,
he doesn't want to be 20 Cent.
He doesn't want to be 20 Cent. And I'm glad you mentioned the regressive part of our tax system, because I was like, yeah, that does seem high, but no, that's right. Once you make over 400, whatever income you're making over 400K is taxed at 62%.
Yeah,
and I would love to be taxed at 62% because that would mean I'm making over 400K.
See, that's one thing I've never understood about the people that cry about taxes, right? First of all, they go about it and say, oh, if we tax people X, Y, or Z, they're not going to reinvest this money in the economy. I'm like, look, people that are that rich anyway, they don't pay the kind of tax that, like, they don't pay income tax.
No,
make the money through capital gains or through other means, and the taxes are super low. So the people that are crying in the streets,
I don't think
being used. You know what I'm saying? And when they're talking about this, they're only talking about income tax, right? They're not even talking about now. If we are talking about all income, and when I say all income, you're not making a distinction between carried capital gains, or which is how if you're in private equity, you invest your money, for X number of years or whatnot, it is not classified as. I mean, oh my God, the taxation system.
I forgot. Like you should know about all this stuff. You were on the UVA. Like you were on the UVA Law Tax Journal. I forgot about that. I was like, why would you pick of all the journals to be on the tax one? But I forgot you know about taxes.
Dude, like all of these taxes. I live in this space. Like I know all about all of this.
So your conclusion is 50 Cent is an idiot.
He's an idiot. Like if he thinks that. So for instance, how many people do you think make their money? Like the way you make your paycheck, right? Like
right.
You make $100,000 a year,
right?
How many people do you know out there that their salary is like
over
$400 a year?
Right. I mean, no one. Maybe like you'd
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why if you're a C-level person, what you want to be doing is to negotiate your salary. And I'm not giving advice here. I'm not giving financial. Maybe we should start giving financial advice. Maybe more people.
Maybe. Yeah. Do you have like fiduciary duties, or you have to make distinctions? Like this is not financial advice. We're trying to protect ourselves legally. This is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. If you need it though, hit us up in the comments.
If you're making $1 million and you're getting advice on this podcast.
You are an idiot. You're actually an idiot. I might not call Scalia an idiot, but you are an idiot if you were making that much money.
So, you want to be negotiating. That's why they call it a compensation package, right? Like you say, okay, you know what? this is the target compensation package that, $10 million, whatever. No, I don't want that in salary. I want it
right. Capital gains. you want those stock options, right?
Exactly.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, you need some, you can say, okay, my total package is $10-15 million. All right. Just pay me $1 million of that in salary. The rest I want it in stock or some other kind of options that I get to exercise, and then you look at it and then you exercise at this time of the year or that time of the year, whenever the stock price is favorite. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. So I'm wondering though, when you have an artist like 50 Cent though, or someone who makes most of their money from, I don't know, albums, either album sales or concert sales and merchandise and whatever else he's making his money from, how is that treated under the tax system?
I mean, again, it depends, right? It depends on how he's making it. So you're right.
That would be income, right?
Yeah, it will be income, but I mean, they're all income.
I know, but like it's
they just tax different,
taxable income. Yeah.
So yeah, but even with that, once you're, there are ways that you can structure.
Yeah, I'm not saying let's all cry for 50 Cent because he's getting taxed on his album sales. I'm just saying, because when you're that big, you're investing in other things. You're making capital gains. If you're 50 Cent and you're not investing in the stock market, you're an idiot. You got lawyers and financial advisors. They've done like Jay-Z's not making his billions from income. It's all his investments and stock options and whatever he owns.
Yeah, there are ways that you can structure your income so that you can minimize your taxes. I mean, this is the same 50 Cent. I think there was a time, a couple of years, he filed for bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
He filed for bankruptcy. And I think he even compared himself to Donald Trump at the time. It was like, I'm on that Donald Trump stuff or something like that. Like
he probably said that.
Yeah.
I'm looking up his net worth because I know his net worth has shrunk.
He still makes money. Like
it says he has a net worth of $30 million, but it says, which is a huge drop from recent years when his net worth was declared at $150 million by Forbes. And so he's not. I don't know. He's kind of an idiot.
Yeah, like he's an idiot. Like
because he should have been like Jay-Z level, or at least getting close. And he was for a second, and then he must have made some bad decisions, and he spent too much damn money. He lost a lot of money.
Yeah, you lost so much money. You declared bankruptcy, and you're worth only $30 million. Like, please, give me a break. Like, I'm not crying for you.
Yeah, no, he's pretty. I've never respected him as a business. I mean,
did you respect him as a rapper?
So that's interesting. I never thought he was like technically that good, but I did like his first album. I can't act like I didn't really like his first album and some songs from his second album. There are a couple of songs later on. Like there were 50 Cent songs I like, but his first album, Get Rich or Die Trying, is a fantastic album. I listen to it at the gym still all the time. And I don't know why, but it's one of my favorite gym albums of all time. So
I think like
but I don't think he's technically that good.
Yeah, like I think he was a commercial. I mean, he did what he did well in terms of having a bunch of commercial club anthems in the club. Go Shorty. So he had some of those type of songs. But you're right. Now that I'm thinking about it, he was a big troll. Like that whole thing that he had with Ja Rule, that was him basically trolling Ja Rule.
That was, so their beef goes back really far, Ja Rule and 50 Cent. And I actually am a huge Ja Rule fan. Ja Rule to me is a much better rapper. He has better songs than 50 Cent. I think 50 Cent, like compared to Ja Rule, is trash. But for some reason, the hip hop community in 2003, 2002 took 50 Cent's side. And they basically just erased Ja Rule from hip hop for a long time.
They canceled Ja Rule.
They canceled him. He wasn't relevant anymore. And 50 Cent had like Eminem on his side, so there was that. And so 50 Cent, you would think back then, 50 Cent is going to have this great legacy. But really what it's turned out is I think people are starting to remember like, oh yeah, remember these Ja Rule and Ashanti songs? And like Ja Rule's kind of having this like resurgence of relevancy. and he's going on concerts. Ja Rule can sell out. I went to a Ja Rule concert in early 2019 in Reading, Pennsylvania, and it was sold out. And it was fantastic. And it was Ja Rule, Ashanti was there, Fat Joe, Jadakiss. It was great. And I think people more fondly remember Ja Rule than 50 Cent now as a musician. But at the time, Ja Rule became irrelevant. So I'm kind of not cool with 50 because of that. Because I think they could have coexisted together, and I would have liked to hear more Ja Rule songs back then. But
yeah. I mean, I totally agree. Like now that I'm thinking about it, he totally canceled.
He canceled him before cancel culture was a thing. He canceled him in 2002 or 3, and all of a sudden, like Ja Rule was huge. For anyone who's listening, who's not over 28 or 30 or whatever, like Ja Rule was huge. You may have missed him, but Ja Rule was huge when I was like in middle school, early high school, and you couldn't listen to the radio, especially like the hip hop and R&B radio stations, without hearing his songs. He had summer anthems. Oh man, but he was huge for like 2 years, and then 50 Cent kind of came up, and 50 was huge, but he's a troll. He's a troll. So it's not surprising that he's voting for Donald Trump. Honestly, I never really expected 50 not to vote for Donald Trump. I never looked at him as like this like thoughtful, compassionate person. I look at him for what he is. He was a rapper who had a really good album to me in the early 2000s. He's had a couple of hits since then and I've liked, but then he's kind of just this internet troll. He's even trolled his own son. I don't know if you've seen this.
What? No.
Yeah, he's trolled his son. His son apparently, like, there was an issue.
You mean apparently?
Apparently, his son and his 50 Cent and his baby mom have issues, and the son is obviously the product of 50 Cent and his baby mom. And for those who I don't know, who are idiots, for those of you who are dumb like me. Anyway, so 50 Cent, so his son was mad at 50 because basically he was saying that 50 Cent didn't really take care of him. And he didn't take care of the mom and the son. And the son's like 20 years old now. He looks just like 50 Cent. It's crazy. And the son was trolling 50, and 50 would troll back this. Like, they would just beef in public, kind of. And at one point, I saw this interview where they asked 50 Cent, like, do you love your This isn't funny, but it kind of is. He was like, do you love your son? 50 Cent was like, man, I used to. It's like, wow, you're an asshole.
Wow.
Like, he's beefing with his own child. So 50 Cent is a troll. So I never in a million years thought 50 Cent was going to be, voting for like Elizabeth Warren or something, or super into Black Lives Matter. He's Donald Trump. I'm less shocked that 50's voting for Trump than I am about Kanye West. I'm more shocked about Kanye. Not that I'm like crazy shocked. And I don't think Kanye's necessarily voting for Trump. Kanye is voting for himself. But 50 is totally going to vote for Donald Trump. There's no way he's not. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. Talking about Donald Trump. Remember in the last episode, we were talking about how, Trump would be a successful comedian if he went on tour.
I was listening to a podcast, actually, a comedy podcast, and they were talking about Donald Trump, and they were saying one of the comedians on there was like, yeah, no, he's hilarious. I've checked out his hour. It's strong. And he was talking about the rallies he was watching on YouTube. I was like, I looked at one of his rallies just to see what it was like. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what he's saying. He's so ridiculous.
That's what I was trying to say too. I was just trying to say, like, look, it's not a question of him being president. What he talks about is not about presidenting. It's not about being a president. Like, I'll give you an example. I think there was one that it was basically hypothetically talking about committing a bribe. Just give me a second while I see.
There is a shortage of 500,000.
We don't have commercials yet.
Don't forget.
But
Okay, so
I would be the greatest fundraiser in history. Don't forget, I'm not bad at that stuff anyway, and I'm president. So I call some guy, the head of Exxon.
did you hear? Can you hear this?
Call the head of Exxon.
yeah,
You know, I'll use it. Hi, how you doing? How's energy coming? When are you doing the exploration? Oh, you need a couple of permits, huh? Okay. But I call the head of Exxon. I say, you know, I'd love to send me $25 million for the campaign. Absolutely, sir. Yes, and if I make the call, now people make the call, it's different, you know, but if I make the call, I will hit a home run every single call. I would raise $1 billion in one day if I wanted to. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
I mean, the guy is just.
he's just talking shit. He's just up there. He's getting the attention. He's getting this. He's just talking. He's just talking shit. He's just making stuff up. Whatever's funny, whatever's gonna get the crowd to scream. But
There was this particular one that I saw where he was basically whining about flushing toilets. And
whining about flushing toilets.
yeah, like let me see if I can pull this up. Like it is ridiculous. Like the guy is, yeah, like he let me,
Flushing toilets.
yeah, he was crying about it
Because
like,
he has to flush toilets now? Or was
he
he
was
not?
talking about just the water.
We're not very happy with the job the president's doing. I said, he's no good people. But you know what? Someday I'll tell you the story. We had some great ones, and we had some people that didn't know what the hell they're doing. But I'll let you know at the right time who they were. Under the Biden lockdown, the lights of Reno and Las Vegas were extinguished. Carson City will become a ghost town. If he comes in, Carson City will become a ghost town. And the Christmas season will be canceled. Look, remember I said we're going to bring back Christmas, right?
What?
Remember? I used to go
Wow.
saying we will bring, because I saw these big department stores, you know, they thought it was politically correct. So they say, have a great season. I said, no, I don't want to have a great season. I want to say Merry Christmas. Say Merry Christmas.
It's so ignorant. And
This medical bill require price. You know what price transparency is, by the way? It's the biggest. Adam knows. Michael knows.
He's just pointing at random people.
yeah, he's just making up names. Steve knows. Michael knows. Kanye knows. Oh man.
What's going on? It doesn't. And okay, so he goes out. There's no people at any of the rallies. I go out. We get 35, 40,000, 25,000.
Like this guy is a comedian.
So yeah, so the only thing I will say, so I do have to differentiate between a comedian and what this guy's doing. You have to already have the fans where you walk in and they're going to agree with everything you say. So you need the dumbest audience in the world.
I mean, to some degree,
Which he has. He can find these people. They're out there. There's millions of them.
does that really matter? I mean, no. If
he goes to Brooklyn though,
let me give you an example. There are different kinds of comedy, right? Like, so Dave Chappelle could go do a show somewhere where he already has people that are his fans that will show up.
Yeah.
And you will have people that would disagree with what he said. I mean, that happens all the time with him. I mean, he cries about it from time to time. But yeah, I don't think it's that different.
Yeah, he already, so he's famous, right? He has a huge following. Donald Trump has a bigger following than any comedian. So that's true. I'm just saying, I guess from the craft standpoint of comedy, it's like his crowd is super easy.
Yeah.
like so it makes it really easy on him. Like, he couldn't do the real work of like an actual comedian. Like Dave Chappelle took him a long time to get there. Donald Trump, he became famous through other means. But that's what Donald Trump is experiencing. He's experiencing the high of being a stand-up comedian. And now that he has everyone paying attention, he's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit him with this. I'm going to say this. So,
yeah, I mean,
but he's a funny guy. I will say that. He's a funny guy.
So the debates happened, right? We haven't talked about the debates. But
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
yeah.
I laughed out loud several times actually during the debates.
Who do you think won that debate? Like, I actually feel like it's a ridiculous.
A ridiculous question.
Yeah, like who
I
won?
do too. I was just talking about that. It's like, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like, who won the debate? What does that even mean? At this point, who's winning the debate? Like, these are like Harvard graduated like debate teams or something, and it's like the semi. Who there's no winning the debate. Everyone's gonna say what they're gonna say, regardless of a winning anything. You know what I mean? Like, Biden is going to say certain things. Trump is going to say certain things. If you like Trump, you're going to be like, oh yeah, Trump won. If you like Biden, oh yeah, Biden won. I don't, for the most part, unless someone's like ill or sick or, you know, unconscious and the other person was able to talk and the sick or unconscious person wasn't, I don't think anyone's winning at this point. It's just, these debates have just become kind of entertainment. But anyone who's in Biden's general camp is going to say Biden won, or even if they don't say he won, they're still going to vote for Biden. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have any practical significance, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it doesn't have any practice. I totally agree. I mean, I thought it was interesting that there were a bunch of folks after the debate. First of all, Megyn Kelly, what are you doing? She did after the debate, you know, talking about how, you know, Trump and was calm and collected and talked about. I'm like, dude, they had to mute his mic for him to behave, you know, properly or whatnot.
Yeah, that's pretty pathetic.
You know, the way that debate went actually told me two things. One was that it finally got to him that his strategy the first time around backfired. He knew that he lost that debate. So he was, you know what I'm saying? The first time when he just went out like a maniac, interrupted right and left, and was he just came out aggressive and whatnot. I think it got to him that, that didn't work. So that's why it was a little more subdued. But with this particular strategy, it seemed to me that it even exposed him more as even more empty. Like,
because he can't detract from from the he's not saying anything.
Exactly.
So when he has to speak on a quiet tone and it's not animated, you're like, oh wow, there's actually nothing there.
It's absolute. I mean, you know, before he would say all these ridiculous things and you know, you just got distracted by the antics and all of that stuff. But when he was forced to articulate, and he couldn't interrupt, and he couldn't. It was nakedly obvious that, oh my God, this guy's even. I think his show has basically run its course. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
yeah. I mean, we'll see. It was interesting. He was just. Yeah, he wasn't saying anything. He wouldn't really answer the questions. Like, he would kind of just go off on tangents like he does, make fun of Joe Biden.
I thought it was interesting when it was like, I'm the least racist person.
Oh my gosh.
Like, he was like a black woman.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's hilarious. I love but that's how he talks, right? He has the exaggerations and hyperbole and that weird Abraham Lincoln exchange between him and Joe Biden.
I think Joe Biden was being sarcastic, right? I don't think he got it. It was like Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, he said Abraham Lincoln over here. Now, it was funny because I missed that Trump. I said that. I must have been looking at my phone, but I missed that Trump said something about Abraham Lincoln at first. So when Joe Biden said, I get it now, but when Joe Biden said Abraham Lincoln over here, I'm like, I looked over at Geneva. I'm like, oh God, is Biden losing it? I was getting really concerned. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, for those that are listening, what happened was Trump had said that he was the best president for black people with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln.
He did say possible exception.
Yeah,
I love
with the
that he said
possible
possible.
exception.
See, that's hilarious because he said with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. I mean, that is such an absurd. I love that to me, that's funny. Like I'm not like take away the policy and all that stuff. Like that's really funny that he said that.
Well, it was equally hilarious that Joe Biden
Right.
also made fun of him. Joe Biden trolled him with that and called
He was
him
like Abraham Lincoln over here. He's like, I didn't say I was Abraham Lincoln. You just said. I never said I was Abraham Lincoln. It was that was an interesting exchange. There was one that was funny where Joe Biden started going into his talk about being from Scranton and from Claymont, Delaware.
He was like,
And-
you're not from
and he-
Scranton.
And he was like, you're not even
You
from
only
there.
for a minute.
He's like, you only lived there for a minute. You're not from there. And then you left and you never went there ever again. It was like, what? I think he is from there. I don't think you can just lie. Like, but I know what he's trying to say, but it's just like a lie, which is hilarious. But he's like, you're not even from there. Fuck you. Like that's basically what he said. Like, fuck you, Joe. You're not even from there. And then another thing he said that was kind of funny. Joe Biden was like talking about how, families are at the dinner table struggling and all this stuff. And then Trump, and he got really, really serious. There were like violins in the background. And then Trump was like, he was basically like, shut up, Joe. All you're going to do is talk about people being at the dinner table. Nobody cares. He was like, you can do better than that, Joe. And I mean, we busted out laughing. It was the funniest response.
I told you, man, that guy can go on a tour.
He was like, nobody cares. You're stupid. You're going to just talk about people at the dinner table. No one's even listening. Like, it's just like childish, but it's really funny.
Like, what about Hunter?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
China.
And the virus is from China.
Remember,
Let's
they
be
said
clear
they never
about
took
that.
responsibility, right? They were like, you never took responsibility. It's like, okay, I take responsibility, but China caused it. I'm like, wait.
I mean, it's like, yeah, that viruses have to come from somewhere, dude. But I mean, once it's here, like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a global virus at this point. I don't think it's a Chinese virus.
Yeah, like the guy is such an idiot, man. It's like you it's just like a firefighter that got to a house right when the fire started, and you didn't do anything about it. The house burned down, and they were like, "Dude, you're the firefighter. Why did you put it out?" They're like, "Wait, like I didn't cause the fire. That's not a
Yeah,
question."
somebody put a fork in a toaster. That's their fault. It's a fork in the toaster fire.
What whether you started the fire?
Yeah,
You should put the damn fire out. Like
it's 100% your responsibility at this point.
Oh my God.
I didn't start it. It's a lie. It's from the fork in the toaster. It's a fork fire.
Oh man, but anyway.
But yeah, no, that debate. I mean, it was good for entertainment value. I don't think we learned anything new about anyone other than Trump thinks he's better than Abraham Lincoln. But like, we didn't learn substantively anything. I don't think. I don't know who's watching these debates for anything other than entertainment value at this point.
Yeah,
Who's watching it with like notes? I don't know.
Do you guys have early voting in Pennsylvania?
We do have early voting. We're gonna vote on the day of, and I'm trying to remember why. Yeah, I was just like, what are we doing? Because I was just gonna go when Geneva goes, and why are we doing that? I don't remember what she said. She says, she was saying she wanted to. I'm just gonna do what she does, and she was saying she didn't want to get in the way of people who really need to do early voting. She was like, I have the privilege. What's that?
I said, what girl?
I don't know. She was saying that because she's able to vote on November 3rd,
Okay.
that she was not going to impede others who might have a harder time voting on November 3rd. So I was like, whatever. That's fine. And also, I think there's a little bit more. It's a little bit more complicated. It's not as easy as just kind of showing up to a place. I think if
Got
you
it.
do early voting, so there was like this extra crap tied to it. So and that's all she had to tell me. It's like, oh, there's extra stuff. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So I'll be there. I'll be there on November 3rd.
So I mean, before we
but you
wrap this
voted
up,
though, which is good.
yeah, we voted. So before we wrap this, who do you think? I mean, we are now less than 2 weeks away. So
Mhm.
we're
Oh,
now.
God.
Who do you think is going to win? Who do you truly think is going to
Oh,
win?
gosh, this is how much more time do you have? Because this question is
Yeah,
explosive. Because I've talked to people about it, and my thought is I think Biden, but I'm just not 100% sure. And I'm not even close to 100% sure. But I think if someone put a gun to my head, I think Biden's going to win, but it's iffy because I don't really know. I don't discount Trump at all. He could win if that makes sense. Who do you think?
I mean, I think it's probably not even going to be close. I think
You think?
I think Biden is going to win for sure. Now, I'm basing so there is, when you're making this kind of predictions, right? You also have to be cognizant of the actual things that could happen on the ground. So what do I mean by that? Um, all things being equal, just based on what we know today and whatnot, I think it's not going to be close. I think Biden's probably going to, not probably, Biden's going to have more than 300 electoral college votes. My prediction is he's going to have more than 340. And I'm so confident in that prediction that I'm saying if he has less than 340, right? Say he has 330, that will actually be a bad night.
Gotcha.
Like he will still win. Like that will
Right, but
actually be a bad
you really
night.
think he's going to be a landslide?
Like I really believe it's going to be a landslide.
Is that because you're looking at polling, or is that just more of like a general sense of
So
where
it's
the
both.
country is? Both, yeah.
It is both. It's both. I'm looking at the polling, and I think the fact that Trump won the last time around, and I think I've said this before, he is getting too much credit. I mean, he's a white guy, I guess. So he's gonna get an outside.
He's born with a bunch of credit.
Yeah. So he's getting too much credit for that because he won the last time and nobody expected him to win. I think people keep forgetting that he barely won the last time around. He barely won.
Yep. And he
He
lost
won.
the popular vote.
He lost the popular vote. So I mean, you could say that, okay, we don't, we have no consideration for the popular, at least in the insane way that we vote for presidents in this country. Okay, fine. He won Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, by less than 100,000 votes. I think Michigan by like 10,000 votes, something crazy like that. And you have the fact that, he ran against Hillary Clinton, who for whatever reason, people just didn't like her. Like he just represented, like she just wasn't popular. Like I think a lot of the flack that she got were uncalled for, were unwarranted. But for whatever reason, I mean, the propaganda against her has been so effective that people just didn't like her. And then when you add in the whole Comey thing, and then the emails, and then the novelty of Trump at the time, is this new thing, this shiny thing, a lot of people, and he went out there and said the right things or whatnot. Like it was this populist. What we cannot discount is the fact that now, 4 years later, he has a record. And if you look at how he has handled the pandemic, everybody sees it. You have to be able to convince me that he has actually, net. He has more net people supporting him now than 4 years ago, and I don't buy that. Like, just common sense, polling, everything tells me that less people, it's more likely that people that voted for him, that give him a chance, like there are some people that voted for him last time around, they give him a chance, are going to say, you know what? No, we do not like this. Especially looking at the way he has exhausted everyone. He has exhausted.
Yeah.
He has exhausted everyone. So, and the last time around as well, I mean, people were saying the polling was wrong and whatnot. It actually wasn't wrong. I mean, people don't understand how to read numbers, like how to read polling, how to read statistics. Like everything was within this margin of error. And of course, every, X percentage of the time, the margin goes one way or the other. Now, all of the polling are outside the margin of error. And I think because of what happened the last time around, the pollsters are actually overcorrecting in Trump's favor. If this wasn't Trump, if this was just a generic Republican that has the kind of numbers that this guy has, he wouldn't still be getting the benefit of the doubt that people are giving him, like, maybe he could still win, or it was still, you know what I'm saying? Like, if this were Mitt Romney that was, that was president for the past 4 years and going to a re-election and is down this way, and everyone is just down on him or whatnot, nobody will be if it was Barack Obama, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, I it's funny because I hear everything you've said, and that your voice is in my head, and that's the voice that's there, that it's like, okay, that's what's making me say, at the end of the day, I think Biden will win. Intellectually, that makes sense. What you said is logical. And then yet there's still that fear, and I think it's just trauma from 2016. I'm like, I don't know. It's just trauma, but the logical conclusion is that Biden would win.
Yeah, I personally think the only way Trump wins is if something just happens with the way votes are tallied, or it goes to the Supreme Court, and they do some shady shit like that. Like,
there has to be somewhat of a shit show. But if everyone voted the way they're supposed to vote and got counted, yes, I think for the most part, I think the number of people who aren't voting for Trump that voted for him last year, I think that's a small number, if any. I think most people who voted for Trump last time are going to vote for him again, but that's ultimately not the question. The question is, are more Democrats going to vote? And
more Democrats going to vote?
And I think yes. And logically that makes sense. People are exhausted, but I think people are actually going to vote. More people are going to vote. More people are going to take it seriously. Hillary Clinton isn't involved. So
I actually believe that if Hillary was involved, she will win this time around. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, because more people will be like, all right, fine, I'll vote for her.
Yeah, like I believe that. And I think the one reason why, one data point that I think people are discounting as well when you're looking at this, if you look at every election, whether it's the midterm elections or special elections or whatnot, that has happened since Trump became president, the Democrats are competing in places that they have no business competing in. Like, if you look at Congress races and even senatorial races and all of that stuff. So I'm just saying, I'm looking at it objectively, and also I'm kind of like I'm also adding my feeling into it as well in terms of what I see out there. Last time around, I actually thought there was a chance that it would win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember, I don't know if I told you this as well. Like, I actually thought that, I was never confident that
Hillary would win.
Yeah, Hillary was gonna win. Like, because I was like, I told people, I remember folks that stopped talking to me. There was this particular person that stopped talking to me because for whatever reason she thought that I was supporting Trump. I was like, no, I'm not supporting him. I just think that this is in the bag. Like, I actually think, like, I'm scared that this guy is gonna win. Like, I was He was like, why would you say that? I was like, look, I'm sorry. That's just how I feel with everything that I'm seeing. So I told people that, yeah. And I remember there was this person that on the night of the election, as I was watching, I sent a text to him. I was like, hey, you see what I'm saying? His response was, you were right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, but this time around, I actually don't think it's gonna be close. Like I don't think it's gonna be close.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but
That's
we'll see. Yeah, I think
we will see. We will see. Yeah. That's yeah, Geneva actually thought he would win. She said as soon as Hillary won last time, she was like, "Oh Lord." And I remember telling a neighbor all the reasons why I thought Hillary was going to win and why Trump wouldn't win. But in the back of my heart, like in my heart, I felt like I was lying. Because I was basically just like trying to say something to make this person feel better. But like I had this sinking feeling like, I don't know. Like I just did. I was like, there's no way. No, there's too many. He's too racist. He's too this. But in my heart of hearts, I was like, ugh, I don't know. I don't know.
This is
this is America.
Yeah, like I remember during that time, I actually attended a wedding in
a Trump rally. You're gonna say I actually attended a Trump rally. It's like, did you vote for Trump last time?
I attended a wedding in Gettysburg.
Oh Lord, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and I flew into.
Who the hell do you know that?
So this was I was this was a work colleague of mine. So
okay,
this was a work colleague of mine, and he was getting married on the battlefield. I don't know.
I'm assuming this is a white work colleague. No black work colleague is going to have a wedding related to the Civil War. It's just not, whether you're on the Union or Confederate, we're not trying to. Yeah, but this is for the Union. Yeah, no, I'm good. I was still a slave back then, so whether this was the Union or not. So anyway, sorry.
So I flew into BWI.
Okay.
In Baltimore.
Yep.
And I drove to get. So I actually did not attend like the actual wedding, so it was mainly the reception. I think the wedding itself was limited to
okay.
I don't even remember why I didn't attend.
To Confederate soldiers, Confederate reenactment soldiers. Only
reenactors.
Only if you're in the battle can you be at the actual wedding.
But the funny thing was, I remember seeing so many flags, MAGA flags, that I was scared, man. Like I'd never seen so many. Even I was coming from Texas, right?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that many. I remember coming back home and coming back and I was telling people like, dude, this guy is gonna win Pennsylvania.
I mean, you're right, and that's hilarious. I mean, but the important part of that is you're coming from Texas, but you're coming from Houston, Texas.
I know.
And you're going to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. So
yeah, but I was saying, dude, that at the time it was a foregone conclusion that Trump was going to win Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
But Pennsylvania, I mean, that was wild.
I was like, dude. The Hillary people at the time were talking about this blue wall. I was like, nah, this ain't no blue wall.
It is purple at best. It's light purple at best.
Yeah.
That
was scary, man. I mean, I know people this year though that are taking the day after the election off because
just either way.
Yeah, either way. Like I feel like we all, whether you wins or loses,
it's gonna be a shit show.
Yeah, like people need that day off.
Yeah, we've been through a lot. I remember in 2016 and around this time in October of 2016, we went to Vermont. We were in New England, and we were visiting. This is random. I had family in Vermont.
Oh my
My
God.
aunt and uncle lived in Vermont, and I
Lord.
flew into Albany, New York, and then drove to Western Massachusetts, stayed with my parents, and then we went to my aunt's house in Vermont. So anyway, I was just in that area of the country, and in Vermont, there were so many Trump. It was just weird. I saw a bunch of Trump stuff. I was like, what the hell? And it wasn't enough to like counteract, I'm sure, like people in the cities there. But when you were in the rural parts of the country, even in New England, I saw Make America Great Again signs.
Yeah, it's yeah, I've never bought into this whole thing about, I mean, of course we have blue states and red states or whatnot, but people generally feel like states like Massachusetts, Vermont
Are just like strictly blue.
literally, well, maybe they are, but some of the sensibilities of states, they're still what they are. Like I don't, yeah, like I don't trust. I mean, Massachusetts has a Republican governor, same as Maryland.
Yeah.
That's one thing I never get about U.S. politics, right? Like, or maybe not U.S. politics alone, just Democrats in general, where, you know, if you're talking about a real red state, it is impossible for you to hear that Alabama, maybe Arkansas, Mississippi is going to have a Democrat governor. But you will find like California, Massachusetts, Vermont having Republican governors, Maryland. Like, why?
Yeah.
New York, like New York City, you know, recently, we'll have people like Bloomberg.
Right. Or Giuliani. Yeah. It's weird. It's a weird system. I mean, you know, I know we're wrapping up, but it's the whole just you have two options is just not helpful. I don't think people are way more complicated. I think what that shows is that people are more complicated than red and blue, but we give them these two options and they make weird decisions. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, people are dumber than we think. And
that's true. I don't know. At this point, I'm like, I think people are pretty dumb. So I think I understand, you know, how dumb this country is, but you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Well, on that note,
you be aight.
Yeah, we be aight.
We be aight. Hopefully y'all be aight.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We have come to the end of this show. You have any last words for the folks, for the people?
You be aight, but make sure you go out and make sure you be voting. And I'm not going to be one of those people that say, hey, just go and vote. No, vote for Biden. Do your job. Like, I don't believe that you should. If you're going to go vote for Trump, don't vote. I'm for voter suppression if you're voting for Trump. I don't think you should register to vote. I hope you forget to register to vote if you're voting for Trump. If you're doing the right thing and voting for Biden, then, you know, vote for Biden. It's not that exciting, but you got to do it. So just do it.
You got to.
So that's all I got to say.
All right. Until next time.
All right. You be aight.
You be aight. Bye. Whew.